I'm a self-promoter. I'm a very good-looking guy. I'm an idol to some. I'm a brainless idiot. I'm your daddy. I'm a psychopath. I'm unstable. I'm a curmudgeon's curmudgeon. I'm an animal. I'm a tyrant. I'm a physical peon. I'm a man. I'm incompetent with women. I'm one of the great Casanovas of all time. I'm a hypocrite. I'm a coward. I'm a nut job.
Welcome to Termine Crashes Out, an NBA podcast with Justin Termine, brought to you by DCLA. And now it's time for Termine to crash out.
Welcome in, and I apologize, first of all, for not doing a show last night. I actually got sick. There was no way that I was going to miss doing the show here today. 126-97, San Antonio gets the victory. Just an absolute dominating performance from start to finish, outside of a little bit at the beginning of the third quarter where Minnesota overcomes that halftime deficit, makes it a game again. But then about 5 minutes into the third quarter, Jaden McDaniels picked up his fourth foul. That completely changed the tenor of the game, and San Antonio pulls away with it. But again, what an absolutely dominating performance tonight, and just what a one-sided series as well. It's why the series has been so funky. You ended up getting a 2-2 series heading in, but really weird the way that we got here, because both Fox and Wembanyama were absolutely horrific in game one. They only lose that one by 2 points, and then Wembanyama loses his cool in game four, gets ejected, and that's the only reason I think that Minnesota was even able to win that game, because you think about it overall, heading into this game, Minnesota was losing the overall series, despite the fact that we were tied at 2. They were losing by 48 points. Then they suffer a nice 29-point loss tonight. So overall, even though San Antonio's only up 3-2, they've won the cumulative score by 77 points. So it's really been one-sided. But again, there was no way I wasn't going to do the show tonight, because I feel like tonight was the biggest game of the entire NBA season. Spurs have a legit shot at winning the championship, but they put themselves in a spot where they very easily could have lost the series, because it's a 2-2 series. You're heading into the final 3 games. They lack the experience. You're going up against a guy as good as Anthony Edwards. Edwards is capable of winning a game by himself. Now, he wasn't tonight, and he wasn't spectacular, but Anthony Edwards capable of winning a game by himself. Then you head into game 7, and you're in a situation where Minnesota has played some big game 7s in the past. They've done it on the road. They went up against the defending champs in Denver a couple of years ago, the year after they won the title. Were down by 20 points. They overcame it, and they won the game, even though they weren't the defending champs, and even though Denver had the best player, and even though they were on the road. So they put themselves in a spot where, even though they're the much better team, they could still very easily lose this series. And this is also big for Oklahoma City, right? Because I think San Antonio has a legit shot of beating the Thunder. No offense to Minnesota. I don't think Minnesota can do that. So Oklahoma City's watching this game tonight, desperately hoping that Minnesota would win. But again, this was the biggest game. Think about this. This is how you can build this. Victor Wembanyama ultimately might go down as one of the greatest players in the history of the sport. And tonight was Wembanyama's 3 years in. Tonight was the biggest game of Victor Wembanyama's career. And he owed his team something. And he came out in the first quarter like he owed his team something, because he was the reason that they lost game 4. He was really the reason that they lost game 1. And he came out in the first quarter and was as good as you possibly could have imagined. 18 points, 6 rebounds, 6 of 8 from the floor, 2 of 3 from 3, 4 of 5 from the line, was aggressive in getting to the free throw line, and ends up setting the tone, which is the important thing for the all-time great players, or even just the best player on a team, is to set the tone. And he set the tone. And ultimately, Wembanyama finishes with 27 points, 17 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 blocks. He was a plus 24 on the night. Imagine doing that as a 22-year-old kid with all the pressure on you. He was absolutely fantastic. So that is, he's had bigger statistical games. He was bigger in game 2 in regards to the numbers that he put up. But in regards to the importance of the performance, that tonight was the biggest game of Victor Wembanyama's career. And how about Keldon Johnson? Keldon Johnson's a guy up till tonight. He didn't show up in the series. I think his season high or his series high was 11 points. He's a guy that I voted for sixth man of the year. And tonight he showed it. I mean, you get a guy off the bench that can do this, in addition to the fact that you're also bringing Dylan Harper off the bench. And Keldon Johnson had 21 points on 8 of 11 from the floor. He got to the free throw line. He was 4 of 5 from the line. I thought he was probably the second best player, and he was certainly the second best player on the floor tonight in regards to setting the tone for San Antonio. He was absolutely fantastic. But the questions that I had heading into this game, one, how is Wembanyama going to respond to the pressure? And he responded to the pressure. He responded to having his back up against the wall spectacularly. And again, it was more important than just the final stat line. It was also the fact that in the first quarter, he came out and he set the tone for his teammates. The other question I had heading into this one was, what was De'Aaron Fox going to look like? What was Dylan Harper going to look like? Because they were both game-time decisions heading in. Didn't look like they were hobbled at all. Didn't look like they were impacted at all. De'Aaron Fox was okay. 18 points, 6 of 15, 5 assists, didn't turn over the ball, so did his job. He was a plus 24 on the night. But I'll tell you, how long is it going to be until we start, and maybe that time has already come, which tells you how special Steph Castle and Dylan Harper are. And think about like what they've nailed in back-to-back drafts. Like Detroit is still alive. Detroit is one of the final, 6 teams left. Detroit got it right with Cade Cunningham, but Detroit messed up so many draft picks along the way. Jaden Ivey, they screwed up. Ron Holland hasn't turned into anything special. So they went 1 for 3 with 3 top 5 picks. San Antonio has gone 3 for 3. The obvious one was Victor Wembanyama, but they also nailed Dylan Harper this year, and last year they nailed Steph Castle in a very weak draft. Like, that's a weak draft, and they picked up a guy that's going to be a multiple-time All-NBA player, going to be an absolute stud. And he was tremendous again here tonight. I mean, Steph Castle's defense on Anthony Edwards, amazing. 17 points, did it efficiently. 8 of 11 from the floor, 4 rebounds, 6 turnovers. Then it was a little bit of a slow start for Dylan Harper with the 12 points on 5 of 10 from the floor, 10 rebounds. But he really turned it on in the third quarter, and I thought took over there at a very important time where it looked like Minnesota was about to get back in the game. But even looking at the stat line with Steph Castle isn't the most important thing. You look at what Steph Castle was able to do defensively on Anthony Edwards, because Anthony Edwards really got off last game. 16 of his 36 points in the fourth quarter, arguably one of the great games of his career, and Steph Castle kept him under wraps today with Anthony Edwards. Just 20 points on 6 of 13. Had more turnovers than he did assists and rebounds. 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 turnovers. One of the big reasons for that was the play of Steph Castle. And they're able to get him in a weak draft like that and pair him in a backcourt with Dylan Harper. And again, it's not going to be too long before Dylan Harper and Steph Castle are better than De'Aaron Fox, are viewed as better than De'Aaron Fox, and it might have already happened. But the play of Harper, I thought, turned that game around in the third quarter. And, in addition to Jaden McDaniels picking up his 4th foul, and then midway through the fourth quarter, he picked up his 5th foul. But at that point, it was already too late. And you could say in the Oklahoma City series, right? And maybe this is the good part with De'Aaron Fox. You could say in the Oklahoma City series that they're really 8-0, despite no Jalen Williams, who's barely played a couple of games against the Suns before re-injuring the hamstring. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has had some decent games, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander hasn't been asked to be the MVP yet. Now, he was fantastic last night in closing out the Lakers in Game 4, but he hasn't had to play to the level that we expect out of SGA. That's the same thing with De'Aaron Fox. Fox is really yet to play a spectacular all-around game. And here they're up 3-2 in the second round. And, Julius Randle on the other side for Minnesota, he's got to be better, right? He's their number 2, Fox is the number 2 for San Antonio. And he was inefficient again, 17 points on 6 of 17 from the field. So he didn't have a good game. He has to be better. But I really think overall, a close series like this has helped San Antonio, right? If San Antonio had, gotten what they should have gotten in game one from Fox and Victor Wembanyama, they win that game, right? Then they're up 1-0. Ultimately, they win the second game as they did in blowout fashion. They're up 2-0. And, maybe they win this in 5 games. Maybe it's a sweep. I don't necessarily think that's a good thing for them. Remember last year with Oklahoma City? Oklahoma City goes 7 games against Denver in the second round, and Denver didn't even have their full complement of guys. Like if Denver was fully healthy, you make an argument Oklahoma City lost. But Oklahoma City, I thought, learned something last year from Denver. I don't think Oklahoma City goes on to win the championship and, has the fortitude to beat Indiana in that 7-game series if they didn't get tested along the way. But they got tested against Denver. That ultimately helped them. I think San Antonio, even though they're the better team, getting tested right now is something that's going to pay off dividends moving forward against Oklahoma City next round. Because, and again, they are the definite better team. They have severely outplayed Minnesota in all the games that they've won. Minnesota, the games they've won, they've kind of snuck by. For those baseball fans that are old-timers, kind of reminds you of the 1960 World Series with Pittsburgh and New York, where I think every single game that New York won, they won 3 of the 7. They won by like 10 runs. And then Pittsburgh ended up winning the World Series, but they won each game by just 1 run, and it was capped off by Bill Mazeroski's home run in Game 7 that won the game, one of the famous home runs in baseball history, World Series history. But all those games were close for Pittsburgh. They won, and then in the games that the Yankees won, they blew them out. And right now, if Minnesota's going to win this series, it's like, all right, all the close games will go their way, and San Antonio's just going to blow them out. So, I guess maybe that's the one concern with San Antonio. Have they learned during this postseason run to win the close games? Because every single time they're just blowing out Minnesota. Again, 77 points in the 3 wins. So basically, when they win, they're winning by an average of 25 points. But the tone is set by Victor Wembanyama. Steph Castle defensively in the backcourt, efficient offensively. Off the bench, it is Keldon Johnson. It is Dylan Harper. This team is just so deep. It's so deep. It's very reminiscent of Oklahoma City. The one difference is maybe the best player, if those two teams meet, is Victor Wembanyama. Me personally, I felt all season long the 2 best players were Jokic and Wembanyama. They were more important to their teams than SGA was to his, and that's why I really want to see that series. Who ultimately doesn't want to see that series? I think it's the most anticipated series in the entire postseason because you've got San Antonio, who went 4-1 against them during the regular season. There's the bad blood with Chet and Wembanyama. You have 2 MVP candidates with Wemby and SGA. The best player in the world, you could make the argument, in all fairness, Jokic didn't get out of the first round. I'm a big Jokic guy. He didn't get out of the first round. So that could even be a battle for the best player in the sport. Whoever wins that series, and I know we're getting ahead of ourselves because Minnesota's not eliminated yet, but maybe they get the title of best player in the world between Wembanyama and SGA. But Wembanyama, in the biggest game of his career to date, passes with flying colors. And again, it's not about the overall stat line, even though the overall stat line is amazing. 27.7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks. That's an immense stat line. To me, it was more just about the approach and the focus and getting off to the good start and setting the tone with the 18 points in the first quarter. Minnesota was trying to once again be physical with him. He was shaking it off. And again, that's, I think, an important learning experience, because what would happen if Wembanyama goes into the next series and Wembanyama all of a sudden is getting physically abused by Oklahoma City? All right, well, then he's just learning that, hey, Caruso's going to hit me. Dort's going to be dirty. Jalen Williams, the other Jalen Williams, not the All-NBA Jalen Williams. Jalen Williams is going to get physical with me, play enforcer. He's not prepared for that. To get it out of the way, I think, was the best thing that could happen to San Antonio as long as they go on to win this series, was him learning to deal with that physicality. And now we'll see how professional the Spurs are, right? If San Antonio goes into game 6 and loses, and then we have a game 7, that shows me a little bit of the lack of maturity, because you want to close this thing out, make sure that Oklahoma City doesn't get any more rest, that you get rested a little bit, that you heal Fox, whatever is going on with the ankle, you heal Dylan Harper with the injury that he headed into today's game with, as questionable with. But that is a big-time win by the Spurs. I think they have a legitimate shot of beating Oklahoma City, even though they're 8-0. And I think the best thing that had happened to them is they're playing a difficult series against Minnesota, as long as they get out of it. So congratulations to the Spur fan on the victory tonight. Again, to me, this was the biggest game of the year. There was no bigger game. The biggest game of the year in the sport to date, because even like the game 7s we had earlier, Philadelphia and Boston, neither one of those teams had a shot at winning the championship. Orlando and Detroit, I apologize because Detroit is still around, and I think Detroit will advance over Cleveland, but neither one of those teams, Detroit or Orlando, in that game 7 had a legit shot to win a championship. San Antonio has a legitimate shot to win a championship. So, I mean, I don't even know, and you guys could put it in the chat, outside of, and I'll look at some of the stuff in the chat after the show is concluding, and we'll do hopefully some question and answer here, because there's only one game to break down. But outside of Victor Wembanyama, like, to you, what was the biggest storyline? Was it how good Steph Castle was in the backcourt, especially defensively, and he was efficient offensively as well? Was it Keldon Johnson off the bench? Because think about it. They've been really good in this series, San Antonio, already, without Keldon Johnson really even doing anything. Tonight he gave you 21 points. Maybe that helps you build some confidence. And then the other aspect of this, maybe it's on the flip side. It's Julius Randle with another dud. If he's supposed to be your second best player at some point to win the series, he's got to do something to help out Anthony Edwards. Or was it Anthony Edwards? Like, because in all fairness, Anthony Edwards, we've had Rich Paul this year. We've had Carmelo Anthony. Both call Anthony Edwards the best player in the sport, meaning better than Wemby, better than Jokic, better than SGA, better than Giannis Antetokounmpo when he's healthy, better than Luka Doncic. Well, that means Anthony Edwards needs to show up in a game like this. And Anthony Edwards needs to show up in game 6. And Anthony Edwards needs to force a game 7, because it does look like he is back to 100%, at least with the minutes that he's playing. This is now 3 consecutive games where he's essentially top 40 minutes. Tonight it was 39. But a statement win for San Antonio, a mature win for San Antonio, and that's really what I wanted to see, was San Antonio making a case as to, hey, we not only are talented, but we know how to win big games with our back against the wall and facing some pressure. All right, so I will get to some of your chat here in just a second. I do want to mention the other top story from earlier today. That is Daryl Morey. The Sixers and Morey parting ways earlier today. Nick Nurse is going to return for a 4th season for him. This is not a surprise at all. 6 years in Philadelphia for Daryl Morey. Missed the postseason last year. Lost in the first round. Once, and then was eliminated in the second round 4 times. And that's despite having championship aspirations. That's despite having Joel Embiid, a guy who is supposedly supposed to be in the mix for MVPs, best player in the sport. One of the years that they did lose in the second round was 2023. That's the year that Embiid won the MVP. So they had a 3-2 series lead. They were on their home floor against Boston, had a lead in the 4th quarter, couldn't close it out, then got blown out in game 7 on the road as Boston advanced behind the 51 points there from Jason Tatum. But on the bright side, you give Morey some credit. It wasn't all bad. The Maxey pick in 2020 saved the organization. He made the right pick with VJ Edgecombe this year. So they are set up nicely for the future. But don't forget, he messed up the whole Ben Simmons trade there with James Harden, had the ugly divorce with Harden, ultimately got nothing in return for him, screwed the team over with the long-term contracts to Paul George and Joel Embiid, although I don't fault him as much for the Embiid contract, because I think most teams in that spot would have done it, and I think ownership wanted him to do it. But still, it's something that, is a black mark here, is going to impact them moving forward. And then just recently, the final, the straw that broke the camel's back is that ridiculous Jared McCain trade, which, if you're a San Antonio fan and you're watching this show tonight hoping that I'm talking about the Spurs, well, again, we just did a bunch of Spurs stuff, but you should be ticked off. Like that Morey impacts your season this year because you could potentially lose to the Spurs. And one of the reasons that you'll lose to Oklahoma City, that is, if you're the Spurs, and one of the reasons will be is because Daryl Morey, makes this indefensible trade with Jared McCain. That to me is a fireable offense. As long as that's not something that was initiated financially by ownership, that alone is a fireable offense with Daryl Morey. Especially with how thin the rest of the roster was. You saw it in the postseason. It was utterly ridiculous. You got Maxey, Paul George at the age of 36, Embiid always injured. They're playing 40-plus minutes every single night. So in retrospect, that is just a horrible trade, and I don't even need to say retrospect because I called it out at the time. I thought it was a head-scratcher, as did many other people around the league. Some of the executives I've talked to or coaches that are currently within the league were flummoxed by it at the time. And the bottom line is Philadelphia is screwed long-term despite having Maxey and Edgecombe. You got guys like Maxey and Edgecombe, you should feel good about your future. But because of the Paul George contract, the Embiid contract, they're screwed. I mean, Embiid's got 58.1 next year, 62.7 in 2028. He's got a player option, which most likely he'll pick up for $67.4 million in 2029. And then Paul George, 54.1 next. And then in 2028, it's $56.6 million. So whoever the next GM is going to have his work cut out for him trying to add talent and add depth to a roster where those two guys are taking up substantial space. And, I'll just say this. Daryl Morey, a tremendous regular season executive. In fact, he has less sub-500 seasons than guys like Pat Riley and Danny Ainge and Sam Presti. Even though he's been around forever, he actually has a higher regular season winning percentage than all of those guys as well. And all those guys are the cream of the crop as far as executives are concerned. That's the holy trinity of current executives. Riley, Danny Ainge, Sam Presti. Daryl Morey actually has a better regular season win percentage than those guys. But he's never had the postseason success. Heck, he's never even led a team to the finals. And, he's also got Philadelphia in a little bit of a mess here. And the other thing that would tick me off about Daryl Morey at times, one of those guys who grabbed a microphone every single time his teams were doing well, he would not pass up the opportunity to jump in front of a microphone. But then when things are going bad, you couldn't find Daryl Morey anywhere. You didn't even know if he was still alive. He actually took a shot at me a couple of years ago. You can look it up on the internet, where he called me the Ricky Bobby of sports talk radio, in reference to that Will Ferrell character in the race car movie, which I still haven't seen. But he did call me Ricky Bobby. I didn't hold that against him. Ultimately, I don't think he has an issue with me. I don't have an issue with him. Best of luck in the future here to Daryl Morey. I'm sure that he'll find a job. All right, so let's take a look at some of the things that you guys are saying in the chat. And again, it'll be a little bit of a shorter program today because of the fact that we only had one game. JT, where would you rank Presti as a talent scout compared to the other great executives in the sport? So full disclosure here, because I don't like people thinking that I have a vendetta. I did go to school with Sam Presti, to be honest with you. He graduated right as I was getting to Emerson College, and we've had our back and forths in the past, so the relationship is not at its best, although I saw him last year at an event at Emerson for our former coach, and spoke, but I have been critical in the past. It's my job to be critical, and my issue with Sam was the fact that I believe that he tanked, much like Philadelphia. Philadelphia didn't need as many years tanking, or Philadelphia tanked more. Oklahoma City only did it for 2 years. Philadelphia did it for 5. But here's where I'll give them credit. So I don't like the fact that they tanked. I called them the black eye of the NBA as a result of that. I think it's ultimately bad for the sport. And look, we're seeing it now. So, I kind of was prophetic with that now the league has got all these teams that are trying to copy Oklahoma City and San Antonio, because Oklahoma City and San Antonio did tank in order to put together these current rosters. But Presti just did it smarter than everybody else. So Presti tanked, but then he nailed all the picks. Sam Hinkie tanked, and then he failed to follow through on the picks, as did Brian Colangelo, as did Elton Brand, as did Daryl Morey. But Sam Presti tanked, and then he nailed all the picks. Nailed the SGA trade, nailed the Chet pick, nailed the Jalen Williams trade, even outside of the lottery. Nailed, Lou Dort, nailed the Caruso trade, nailed the 38th overall pick in AJ Mitchell, apparently. So in regards to scouting young talent, there's nobody better than Sam Presti. And again, I think he learned from the first time around where, he messed up the Durant, Harden, and Westbrook trio. Got rid of the wrong guy on Harden. Probably should have got rid of Westbrook. Didn't spend money because was trying for prolonged success instead of going for the jugular. And now he's pretty much going for the jugular. Spurs Zach says, Wemby set the tone in the first quarter. Keldon and Harper carrying the team the rest of the way to get the win. If that's the summary you want to go with, I have absolutely no issue with that summary. Because Keldon Johnson was huge. And it's also nice to get another guy that has confidence. And now you have confidence with him moving forward. So Castle's potential is insane. This comes from Lucas. Castle's potential is insane. He's so young and already this good. But Cade is on a much less talented team carrying them this far. And I agree with that. Like, Cade's just got to do more. And it's a little bit unfair to Cade because they haven't surrounded him with the pieces. Right? Where like SGA doesn't have to give you a perfect game in order to win. Cade, especially when you get to this competition level, if Cade's going to struggle, the team's going to struggle. Castle can ease his way in because, listen, on most nights, you're asking Castle to be not the best player, that's Wembanyama, not the second best player, that's supposed to be Fox, even though it's not always the case. And, on nights it can fluctuate with even Dylan Harper being that third guy. Devin Vassell could get hot. Keldon Johnson can do what he did tonight. So Steph Castle can just focus on the defensive end. I will say this about him. I will say this about Steph Castle. Foul trouble earlier today. Picked up 3 fouls early in the second half. He's got to be better in regards to staying out of foul trouble, because they're going to need him against OKC. He's going to be the guy guarding SGA. He'll be the guy now guarding AJ Mitchell. He'll be the guy guarding Jalen Williams if Jalen Williams comes back healthy. Now, I will say this as well. Do you guys think that Jalen Williams coming back could be a negative at all? Like, you're never going to turn down talent, but they played most of the season without him, and they've played most of this postseason without him. So now you're going to bring him back and you're going to ask him to fit in when the team's already rolling at 8-0. That could be a little bit difficult. Like, that could almost be a negative for OKC. As could the idea that the postseason's been so easy for them so far. Like we mentioned earlier, San Antonio has played a rough series against Minnesota. They're going to be in playoff mode by the time the conference finals gets here. Oklahoma City might not be because things have been so easy. Human nature. Dylan says Utah's tank could pay massive dividends once this season. Might be third tank success coupled with pivotal trades. And, I've got, that's another executive that you have a ton of confidence in, right, is Danny Ainge. So Ainge hasn't had lottery luck. He did have it in Boston via that trade with the Nets, which, he made smart picks. Jaylen Brown, when everybody else wanted them to take Chris Dunn, wanted them to trade for Jimmy Butler, and then Jason Tatum when everybody wanted them to take Markelle Fultz. So Danny Ainge will do the right stuff around whoever he drafts this year with the second overall pick. What else do we have here? In the chat. All right, I'm trying to do a better job of involving you guys here in the chat. Lucas says, I think Ant has the ability to be the best player. Discussion, but he needs to attempt way more than 13 shots, take over games like this in the playoffs. And you're right. If there's going to be pressure on Wembanyama, there should be some pressure on Anthony Edwards, especially now that he's healthy. If Jokic was on the Spurs instead of Wemby, I think they'd be just as good, if not better. Hey, listen, you're talking to the biggest Jokic fan in the entire world. I think he is one of the great players of all time, and he just doesn't have the supporting cast. And Wembanyama has the supporting cast, and I'm thankful for it. I want to see some of these young players have the great supporting cast. He's got it. SGA has it, so they can win almost right off the bat. That's what I'm concerned a little bit about Cooper Flagg, because they fell back to the 9th overall pick. Is Cooper going to have it moving forward? All right, so Smiley says, Smiley Jogger, I think that's Rita, our friend Rita. JT loves Gobert. Looking forward to what JT says about Gobert tonight. And listen, Gobert is hit or miss. He matches up fantastically against Jokic. Did not do a good job here tonight. 4 points, 1 of 4 from the floor, just 5 rebounds. Rudy Gobert's clearly got to be better. And one of the reasons is, I mean, Wembanyama is just so much more athletic than Jokic. And the other thing is here, Jokic's 3 just wasn't falling. And Jokic has dominated Gobert at times. The issue in that series is, and I think I saw a stat yesterday, where on open threes in the postseason, Jokic was shooting the second worst percentage in the entire sport. That matchup would have completely flipped if Jokic was hitting his threes. He wasn't. So Gobert didn't necessarily have to be in his grill out there on the perimeter. Wembanyama's hitting his threes. He didn't in game 1. He was 0 of 8, but tonight he was 2 of 5. So you can drag Rudy Gobert out there on the perimeter. You're going to get the best of him. And again, Wembanyama dominated him on the glass, 17-5. So Wembanyama is doing stuff in this series that Jokic just wasn't able to do last series. Let's see. Chet over J-Dub today, and Mitchell might have superseded J-Dub as well. This A.J. Mitchell, man, could he be any better? 38th pick, doesn't even play for a 68-win team and a champion last year. And make the argument he was the best player in this series against the Lakers. Make the argument, and he's only making $3 million this year, 2.85 next, 2.85 the following year. That could make Jalen Williams expendable. That changes think about that. And that's why it's scary. What's Presti got, the 11th or 12th pick in the upcoming draft? Like, if he can find a guy like A.J. Mitchell at 38 in 2024, imagine what he could do in one of the more stacked drafts and get somebody at 12 this year. I mean, that's scary for Oklahoma City. Bagaku said, Spurs have a legit chance of beating OKC and getting to the finals. OKC is yet to be tested so far this postseason. I mean, has anybody ever had an easier road than Oklahoma City through the first 2 rounds? I think not. You know, you got Phoenix, who's just not on their level, plus Mark Williams, their starting center, is hurt. Then you get to the second round. It's a bad Lakers team with a compromised Austin Reeves, and then Luka Doncic. So they've had an easy road. And San Antonio could certainly beat them. And they have the depth. They might have the best player in the series in Victor Wembanyama. They certainly have the biggest cheat code. And they got a guy that can guard SGA as good as anybody in the league. That's how good Steph Castle is. I had Steph Castle second team all defense this year. And that's as a rookie. And typically you don't see defenders that good. Really, I had 2 guys from this upcoming series, if San Antonio advances, which I think they should. I had Chet first-team defense. I had Wemby first-team defense. And then on the perimeter, I had Cason Wallace second-team defense. I had Steph Castle second-team defense. I think 1 through 12, San Antonio not as good defensively as Oklahoma City, but they got the best defender in the entire world. D. Castro says, what do I think about Dylan Harper? I said this earlier in the year, and my buddy Kevin O'Connor over at Yahoo Sports is the one that put that in the back of my mind, was that Con Knipple probably would have been the better fit. And I still stand by that, because I think, where they're hurting is at the wing position, right? With that, Harrison Barnes type of player now that, didn't get big minutes tonight, but starting the season, Julian Champagny. Like, he would probably be in that Champagny spot or the Devin Vassell spot. And Con Knipple is really good, so imagine having him as your starting forward instead of Champagny, for example. But, I mean, what we've seen out of Dylan Harper this postseason, again, Do you guys think I'm too premature in saying that, Harper and Castle can, by the start of next season, be viewed as better than De'Aaron Fox? I don't think that's much of a stretch. That's how good those two guys are. Either way, cannot look forward to, I just hope. Nothing against Minnesota. I just got my fingers crossed that San Antonio can close this thing out. Hopefully do it in 6, even though I'm always up for a game 7. I just want to fast forward to San Antonio and Oklahoma City. That's probably the championship. Unless New York keeps playing like this and OG Anunoby is healthy. Then New York might have an outside shot. But clearly the two best teams are San Antonio and Oklahoma City. That series is just going to be absolutely awesome. All right, so we'll do this again tomorrow night. Did a little bit more chat than we normally do, so we're getting the hang of it here. Tomorrow night, again, just one more game. I kind of love the one-game nights. It allows us to do this a little bit earlier. I'm not as tired. And then the next day on Sirius XM NBA Radio, we know what the topic is going to be. It's going to be about, that one game. So tomorrow, we're going to lead off the show with Spurs in Minnesota. Another blowout win for the Spurs here, 126-97. They've won their 3 games in the series. They've won by 7. They've won the series, the cumulative score, by 77 points because their 2 losses came by 2 and 5 points, and they've got all blowout wins. So they've simply dominated the series, even though it's 3-2. So that'll be the topic tomorrow, along with Daryl Morey. We'll also preview the Cavs and Pistons, see if Donovan Mitchell can carry over the momentum from his 39-point second half in Game 4, see if Cade Cunningham can get his act back together, all sorts of turnover issues, see if Jalen Duren can finally contribute something, see if J.B. Bickerstaff's complaints about the free throw disparity change here in Game 5 as well. All right, so appreciate everybody for stopping by. Remember, Deepak, our sponsor, DCLA, out in Los Angeles, but all over the country. If you want, you see the little montage of my suits at the beginning of the show, the little commercial for Deepak. He is sponsoring this, making it all possible, and appreciate everybody stopping by, supporting him as well. Find him at bydcla.com. That's bydcla.com. All right, appreciate everybody for stopping by. Remember, like, subscribe, pass along to anybody that might be interested in this as well. We will do a post-game show tomorrow as well. None Thursday. There's no games. That kind of stinks. But appreciate everybody for stopping by. And we'll keep doing this throughout the course of the postseason. Appreciate it, everybody. Time for a gummy. Got to relax. Time for a gummy. Help me sleep.